Could somebody please make it make sense?
Hey everybody, welcome to Pop of Culture. I'm your host, Esoteric and Facetious, and this is the Pop of Culture, which is my video essay podcast where I speak on pop culture, social justice, and human experience from a Black, bisexual, millennial perspective. Everything, and I mean everything I say, should be taken with a grain of salt, as I'm simply a recent college grad with access to a recording device and the internet. With that being said, my youth shouldn't be your sole reason to critique my views unless it's truly relevant. If you disagree with anything I say, let's have a civil conversation in the comment section below. Before we get into the topic of this video, which is going to be current events I want to discuss, I want to advertise my cover channel, Pop of Culture Sings, where I sing throwback R&B, contemporary R&B, pop music, whatever I'm feeling, whatever you're feeling. So if you want to be down like Brandy, if you're down with the click R.I.P. Aaliyah, then definitely feel free to check that channel out. So today I want to just have a little chit chat where I talk about different events that I've been thinking about, different things in the news, different things on social media. So let me know how you like this video. Let me know any other topics you want me to discuss. I have a video I'm editing about Juvia's plays, Were They Right, Were They Wrong, with hosting Jeffree Star a few years back. I think that's a really interesting video. I'm doing a deep dive on that, so stay tuned for that. I'm still editing that. That's why I wanted to upload this video, just so I can be consistent, just so I can give y'all content. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the death of Kevin Samuels. So I wanted to talk about this because this has been all over social media for the past few days. I think he passed on Thursday, and I think the news got out on either Thursday night or sometime Friday. But I wanted to speak about this because people are so divided on how we should feel about it. There's some people who are very happy, and there's some people who are very sad. How do I feel about it? I'm more on the sad side. I wasn't someone who watched Kevin Samuels a lot. The way that I was introduced to Kevin Samuels was because of Funky Dinevah's video. Funky Dineva did a video with this black woman who was this type of relationship coach, and they reacted to his video where he was basically saying that this woman was average at best. And when I heard the whole average at best thing, I knew Kevin Samuels was probably not the content creator for me, because I don't know. I don't like that putting people down, making people feel small. That's not my gig. That's not what I get into. So for me, when I saw him doing that, I really knew his content probably wasn't going to be for me, because that's my thing. I definitely feel like he did get some joy out of tearing black women down and putting them down a peg. And for me, when I'm on YouTube, I want to be entertained. I want to find content I can laugh at, content I can learn from. So that just didn't seem to be the content for me. That was a while back. That was at least a year ago, because I remember I was in school when it happened. So over time, my views on Kevin Samuel have definitely evolved. Not necessarily because I've watched his content in depth, but because I've had a lot of conversations with people about Kevin Samuels and about his content, also just about dating, the dating game, and different stuff in general. So I wanted to talk about my opinions on his passing and also my opinions on his content. So let's get into it. So when I heard the news of his passing, I just was pretty sad, just because he had grown so large in such little time. I remember, like I said, finding out about him through the Funky Dineva video, and he grew so rapidly, and he became somebody who almost everybody who's 18 to 35, who's black, and in America has an opinion on Kevin Samuels. Whether they love him or hate him, he has a huge reach, or he had a huge reach. He still has a huge reach. People are still watching his content. So it's just like, for me as a content creator, I respect that what he was doing resonated with a lot of people. His content generated a lot of opinions and conversation. He played the social media game well. And as a content creator, I respect that. I respect the fact that he came out with content that people cared about and people resonated with, that people wanted to talk about, whether they liked it or didn't like it. And I think for me, it was just such a shock seeing that he passed away, because I think as a small content creator, I always think about, oh, well, I want to blow up on YouTube. I want to get a certain amount of subscribers. I want to become monetized. I want to get sponsorship. So it was just crazy to me to think that somebody within this split of an instant, because I saw the reports, people were saying that he was with this woman and he said that he had chest pains, and she called for 911, she called for help, and he basically fell on top of her. It seemed like his passing happened very quickly. And so it was just so crazy to me, because it's like all these things, like all this social media clout, all of these followers, this engagement, all of that. It's like in that instant, it kind of didn't mean anything, because he's dead. He can't take it with him. And for me as a content creator, that was just so crazy to me, because I think so many of us content creators, we can be so focused on content, put out good content, put out good content. And while it's important, I think sometimes it's like you have to realize that you have to be a well-rounded individual. You can't just put all this time and energy into your content. You also have to make sure you're watering every different aspect of your life, because your content, while it's important and while it can open doors for you, you ultimately can't take your content with you, or your followers, or your engagement, or your money, or all of this and all of that. So I think watching him literally go from being someone who was relatively unknown to someone who was so known and so big in the Black culture, especially with the younger people and people talking about dating and different stuff like that. To lose it so quickly, it definitely made me as a content creator just realize, it's not all about the numbers and followers and etc. It's also just about making sure you're doing stuff that makes you happy, you're making content you stand by, that you care about, because all of this could be over. And I think for me, especially with me having older Black uncles who are 50 and above, having a Black father who's 50 and above, like having these older Black men in my family, it just made me wonder, like, could they pass away in an instance similar to this with heart issues or with something going on with that? And of course, we don't know all the details with Kevin Samuels. People are saying he was on drugs, he was on this, he was on that. I don't know what he was on. Maybe we'll get more information about that. But I guess for me, as a Black man, I always think about stuff like that because I'm just like, I want to live a full life. I want to live a long life, a long, full, fulfilling life. And I don't want to end up where I'm keeling over in my 50s. So it just makes me question, even though I'm somebody who's active and who tries to be healthy, even though, of course, we can all do better. I can definitely do better. It just made me think, am I doing the stuff I need to do to live a healthy life? And like, are the men in my life, the Black men in my life, are they doing what they need to do to stay here? Because Kevin Samuels, he's not the only person who passed in his 50s. And I've had people in my family who've passed at a similar age. And like I said, we don't know all the details of Kevin Samuels, his lifestyle, his habits and stuff like that, but it definitely does make you think. And like I said, as a content creator, it just makes you think. You could lose all of this in an instant. So it just makes it where you just, as a content creator, have to have that balance where it's like, you can put your heart and soul into your content, you can put your heart and soul into your channel, your TikTok, whatever, in hopes of growing, in hopes of building that reach that you want. But it's also that balance of understanding, well, this is important, I'm going to put my heart and soul into it, but I'm also going to nurture every other aspect of my life because it could all be gone in a second. I'm going to appreciate each day. I'm going to do the things I need to do to be the person I want to be, because that's the thing. I honestly wonder if Kevin Samuels, if he knew that he was going to pass, would he still be making that content? Would he still be speaking the way he was towards certain people? Because I think we all have to wonder what kind of legacy we're going to leave. And I feel like with Kevin Samuels, even though there's definitely a lot of people who are grieving him and who miss him and who are heartbroken that he's gone, there's also a lot of people who are very happy to hear about his passing. And I don't approve of people being happy about that. We'll get into that in a minute, but I don't know. I personally wouldn't want to have that legacy where people are rejoicing that I passed away. And I think some of his actions and some of his words did cause for people to feel that way. And so it's just one of those questions of, what legacy am I leaving? What legacy are y'all leaving? And of course, I'm in my 20s. I don't feel like I need to worry about that much. But it's just like, it makes you think what message I'm putting out there. What am I leaving out there? Am I leaving a positive impact? And I think my content is positive, and I think my content is affirming, and I think it's saying a lot of things and speaking to a lot of different experiences that need to be spoke to and topics that need to be spoken about. I think creating good content, like I said, situations like this can very easily make you think, make you check yourself, make you just double check that you're doing what you want to do. So those are some of the things I've been feeling about his passing. So let's talk about other people's reaction to his passing. There are definitely a lot of people who are rejoicing at his passing, and I don't like that. I think that's just so tacky. I will say, I don't think that you had to like what he had to say. And I don't think you have to, as they say on social media, perform grief in the way that people who are actually sad about somebody's passing experience grief. If you did not like his messages, if you did not like him as a person, I don't think you have to say rest in peace. I think there's a difference between not performing grief and going out of your way to be very mean-spirited and nasty about someone's passing. There's so many people out there who are saying stuff like, God don't like nasty, and trying to imply he got what he deserved. And I hate that. And of course, I am an atheist, so my perspective is going to be different. But I did grow up in the church, of course. So here's my thing. I just think it's so disgusting when people say stuff like, oh, God don't like ugly. Because here's my thing. If your God is all good, if your God is all loving, then why would he strike somebody down because you don't like what he's saying or because what he's saying isn't positive? If God was truly all loving, he would give Kevin Samuels every chance to become a better person by y'all's standards. So I just really don't like this whole God don't like ugly thing. Because it's like, that is an ugly statement in itself. Like this idea of, ooh, God don't like ugly, like God, he knocked him down, he struck him down. I feel like that's an ugly statement because I just feel like even if you didn't like what he said, like that kind of snappy reply of God don't like ugly, that you're saying clearly happy that your God in your eyes struck him down. That's just tacky to me, and it feels like you're being ugly trying to clock this person you feel was being ugly. So I just find that tacky. But like I said, I don't feel like people especially Black women, have to have all the sympathy in the world for him. But I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't like him, if you don't F with him, that's fine, but don't make people feel bad who are feeling a way about him. Because clearly he did act as this quasi father figure for a lot of people. He provided a lot of guidance to a lot of young men. He provided some insight to some Black women who took what he said and ran with it. I think it's a very complicated situation because some of the messages that hurt some people affirmed other people. So it's like a very complicated thing. That's one thing I wanted to get into because a lot of the conversation relating to Kevin Samuels has to do with his ideas on how somebody attracts a high value man. I feel like a lot of his content was, if you're a woman and you want to attract a high value man, this is what you have to do. These are the traits you have to have. And so a lot of his advice, I feel, was related to, this is what you need to do if you want to attract these high earning men. I actually got into a conversation with somebody who was really into Kevin Samuels, and he was saying some stuff about, oh, well, only a certain amount of Black men make over $100,000 a year, like a certain percentage. So he was making the claim, oh, well, what Kevin Samuels is saying is, if you want to be with one of those Black men who makes over $100,000 a year, he was basically saying, and I'm trying to phrase it in the most appropriate way, but he was basically saying, if there is a small percentage of Black men who are making over $100,000 a year, and you want to be a woman who's chosen by one of those men who's making that benchmark of money, then there may be some things about your appearance, the way you present yourself, the spaces you enter, etc., that'll raise the chances you have of getting with these men. And so that's one of the struggles I have when it comes to conversations about Kevin Samuels, because I feel like there is this debate going on because people say, oh, he was fatphobic, he was ageist, he was this, he was that, he was misogynistic, and here's my struggle with that. I'm not saying people are wrong, but I feel like it seems like his message, at least in some of his content, was, this is what you need to do if you want to get a high value man, or these are traits or attributes you should shoot to have if you want to get with a high value man. Not, these are traits that you should have if you want a man at all, but these are traits you should have if you want to have a high value man. So I question when people say, oh, he was fatphobic. It's like, is it fatphobic to say you increase your odds of attracting a high value man by being in shape? Because like I said, he's not saying you can't get a man at all if you're overweight. He's saying if you're looking to attract this certain small group of men and you want to raise your chances, or if you want to be seen as valuable by these men, this is what you need to do. Now, of course, one of the things I saw was also that he would also come for different groups of people. Like he would say things like, oh, well, if you're 35 and you've not been married yet, then you're a leftover, and people, they don't want you, they know something's wrong with you. So that's my thing where I do kind of have to critique my own question, because my question was basically saying, oh, well, Kevin Samuels, he was mainly talking to people who were wanting quote unquote high value men. But as I say, the thing is, he was talking about those people, but he was also talking to people who hadn't opted into his thing. Because yes, he talked badly to people who called in, but they opted in for that. At the same time, he was talking about people who didn't opt into his thing. Because my thing is, if he was just being very nitpicky and very critical of people who wanted to be with high value men, I think that would be one thing. But I think the issue was when he started speaking so generally about these different groups of people, like, oh, if you're single with kids, if you're this, you're that, nobody wants you. But like I said, I wasn't watching a lot of his content, so a lot of this is secondhand stuff. But yeah, I have mixed feelings because, like I said, I feel like if he's speaking to that very specific demographic of women who want men who are making a certain amount of money, I don't think it's necessarily wrong for him to speak to traits and attributes that those people might need to have to attract that type of man. Because that's my struggle with the whole Kevin Samuels conversation. Because I do feel like desirability politics are real. And I feel like if you want to attract a certain type of person, you may have to align or adhere to certain standards of beauty. And that's one of the struggles I have when it comes to conversations relating to fat phobia and certain isms and stuff like that. Because it's like, fat phobia, I do think is real. I know it's real. But I guess my struggle is, if we're talking about desirability, I don't know, like, are some preferences fat phobic? Yes, but I think the struggle I have is, I question stuff like, if a dating coach or a relationship coach tells you that you may attract more people if you lose weight, is that them being fat phobic, or is that them being realistic? Like, I think that's my struggle, because I feel like some of this information relating to desirability may not feel good or sound quote unquote PC. So I think that's my struggle, because I just question, how much can people who are relationship coaches be real with their clients without saying things that may not be PC? And that's the thing I kind of want to speak about too, as someone who is young, who sometimes does watch videos by people who speak about relationships, and different stuff like that, as someone who is single. One of the things I struggle with is, like I said, I'm not justifying what Kevin Samuels said or what he did. I definitely feel like there's a lot of people who say similar things to him. A lot of relationship coaches and stuff like that and gurus, I feel like they say similar things. It's just all about their delivery. It's also like content creators, like even with commentary, people can say the same thing but with different delivery. They can get different reception. So one of my things with the whole Kevin Samuels stuff is people say he's misogynistic, he is fatphobic, he's this, he's that, and I'm not saying he isn't. But I also feel like there's definitely people out there who say similar things to Kevin Samuels, but they may say it in a nicer way. That's kind of one of the things I feel like I've noticed. There's a lot of people who will say things like, oh, well, if you want to get into a relationship, like, oh, are you going to the gym? Are you in shape? But they may say them in a nicer way. Because even with a lot of the glow up content and femininity content on YouTube, like there's a lot of Black women who do manifestation, femininity, glow up content. And I feel like a lot of the stuff they say and a lot of stuff that relates to femininity and glowing up, I feel kind of aligns. I feel like some of the stuff that Black women who are anti-hypergamy say is the same stuff he's saying, but they may say it in a nicer way. And of course, there are Black women saying it to another Black woman. So I don't know. I just do think, I'm not saying what he said was okay, but I do kind of question, is it what he said or was it how he said it? And also, how do we monitor ourselves when we talk about dating, finding partners, and attracting partners? Can we incorporate isms into those conversations? And I think we can, of course, but I think it's very subjective because I feel like we can very easily talk about how colorism is an issue when it comes to dating with Black people. But I think for me, one of the struggles I have is with stuff like weight and stuff like fitness and stuff like that. I feel like I'm more comfortable saying that colorism is an issue in dating because colorism is very intrinsic, where if you're a dark-skinned person, you can't change that you're a dark-skinned person. But if you're somebody who is overweight and you're able-bodied, then most able-bodied people who don't have pre-existing health conditions can exercise and lose weight. I'm not saying that people have to, but I'm just saying I struggle with these conversations relating to desirability in dating because it's like, where does fat phobia fit in when it comes to desirability? There are benefits to not being overweight. You may have access to more people. And is that fat phobic? Yes, but is that the world we live in? Yes. So I think that's the problem I have, is it's like some of these uncomfortable truths, I kind of question where the line goes from this is an uncomfortable truth and where the line goes into, okay, you're being fat phobic. So that's one of my questions. And also too, is Kevin Samuels any different from the other people, or is it just his delivery? Because I feel like his delivery may have been what upset people, but I feel like there may be other people who said the same stuff, but they just had a nicer delivery, so they didn't get as much controversy. Those are some of my feelings on that. I don't like people celebrating his death, but like I said, I do feel conflicted because I just feel like some people hated what he was saying, but it's like, do you hate what he's saying because what he was saying was wrong, or do you hate it because it was offensive? Because I question that, because you can be offended by something, but it could also be true. So I don't know. I'm not justifying what he did or what he said, because I definitely think some of what he said crossed the line. Like I saw how he said something about how women shouldn't believe if their child says that they're being abused by their father. Like, the mother shouldn't believe that. I think that that's wrong. I think if your child says that they're being abused, you need to question it. You need to look through it. And I'm not really going to try to play devil's advocate with that, because like, if someone says they're being abused, you need to look into it and you need to try to get them the help. I feel like you always need to pick your child. If you seem precious, like, you need to pick your child. I don't feel like any child would lie about being abused in that way. So I feel like he was completely wrong. So that certain things he said were indefensible. They were just so wrong. But at the same time, like I said, I think it can be hard to have these conversations that relate to desirability, because it's just like, how do you say things in a way that's not going to offend people? And that's why I do feel like with Kevin Samuels, I feel like his content wasn't for everybody. I do question, was his content just not for some people and they were trying to shut him down and silence him because he made them uncomfortable? Like I said, that one thing that I mentioned was out of line, but I just question how much of it was out of line, how much of it was you didn't want to hear that. And that's the thing. I feel like some people felt like it was a victory because he passed away. But here's the thing. I definitely feel like some people, they have this idea of, oh, he died, so it's over. But the reality is, the ideas that he had, he isn't just an individual. I mean, he is an individual, but he represented what so many people felt. And I'm not saying what he felt was right or wrong, because like I said, I do think there's a lot of different nuanced conversations to have about Kevin Samuels and his content. Let me know if y'all want me to do a video. I definitely want to do a video. But I guess my thing is this: him dying, he was just a mouthpiece for how these men, and honestly these women, felt. So it's like, for the people who are clapping and celebrating, there's gonna be another Kevin Samuels type who rises up. I feel like some people are celebrating his death because they think the things he represented are now over and now things can go back to the way they were. But it's like, no, whatever he was doing, he started a movement, or he kept the movement going. So it may not be Kevin Samuels who's saying this stuff anymore, but somebody will take his place if they haven't already. There are already people who are making videos like his, they just don't have the engagement and following he does. So it's like nothing really stopped. And honestly, now that he's gone, people may become even more emboldened to feel the way that they felt. If somebody's happy because they feel like, oh, well, now he's gone, so now the ideology and beliefs are gone. It's like, no, there's other people who are going to say similar things to what he said. It's just not going to be him anymore. It's going to be somebody else. So those are all the things I have to say about Kevin Samuels now. May he rest in peace. Hopefully his family and those people who were connected to him, the people who saw him as a father figure, hopefully they are doing okay. That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Love y'all. Bye-bye. See y'all. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you like this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the points I made in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, definitely like, comment, subscribe, and share. That way, even if YouTube isn't pushing my content, those who resonate with it are sharing it so it can connect with others who would enjoy it. Those are some easy, free ways to support a pop of culture. If you want to support this show financially, feel free to send a tip to my Cash App or buy me a cup of coffee, both are linked below. All who donate will be featured in the credits of my long-form commentary and cover videos. There are 2 playlists that are going to pop up, one where you can binge watch my covers and one where you can binge watch my commentary. Enjoy. Bye-bye.